Hello, everyone. Welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast, as part of a quantum edition. This audio podcast, as part of a Vortux Gauntlet. This audio podcast, as part of a Lobostics sequence. This Synopsis. This Synopsis audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production. In this audio podcast synopsis, a look at a look at a sort of a look at a sort of some overview of some of the poster presentation research poster presentations that are part of or are part of this series this audio podcast series. Um, so in as part of the initial research poster presentation, collaborative works that are taking place between academia and the social media platform, the renal patient support group. This audio podcast, this poster presentation, one of the initial poster presentations in this series, will looks at utilizing or using social media and how it can influence care and shared decision making in context of healthcare and healthcare services. This works that was put forward for the excellence in pediatrics in 2014. And this works was looks at an overview, a brief perspective in regard to social media, use of social media, but also looks at specifically in around the pediatric nephrology specialty, and the poster presentation delves into and looks into sort of evidence-based practices, and also sort of a perspective from collaborators, the renal patient support group, or the RPSG, and perspective. The poster presentation, the research poster presentation also goes into has some perspectives, or has a basis from the literature in regard to young people, and and also sort of and also sort of literature in line to sort of young people services, and aligned to works in regard to where young people services have documented perspectives aligned to parents and guardians, where autonomy is where autonomy sort of still sets to sort of develop in amongst young people, since young people in context of healthcare services, most of the decisions are made by or informed by parents and guardians, until young people sort of transition into healthcare services, sort of equivalent to sort of the special the varying specialisms or specialties, and the poster presentation also looks at some aspects of discussion, and draws on conclusions. the one of the sort of following sort of research poster presentations in this quantum edition. In this quantum edition looks at works by collaborators, and looking at works in regard to the from collaborators, looking at sort of the link between cardiovascular and cardionephrology, and where in this poster presentation, this poster presentation was works or was part of works in context of a healthcare awareness event that took place in around 2014. The poster presentation looks at sort of the sort of the sort of aspects and around chronic kidney disease, and looks at aspects around cardiovascular disease, looks at sort of complications in line to sort of specific renal replacement modalities, being hemodialysis, and then also looks at complications, some of the complications that can be aligned to or linked to sort of the physiological implication, some of the physiological implications sort of where at default, those who go through the condition, or the sort of implications, where the link between the sort of physiological implications and sort of the complications in context of cardionephrology are concerned. The research poster presentation highlights sort of an overview in regard to the two in regard to the in regard to the two specialties, or two sort of two medical specialties. And then the poster presentation looks at as sort of a looks at sort of a sort of a basis or a perspective in around the collaborators around the renal patient support group, and then the poster presentation draws on sort of a summary, and then some conclusions, and where there are some works aligned to the aligned to literature, linked to linked to the specialty, where there is a literature that is linked between sort of pediatrics and young people, and also in line to adults, amongst adult nephrology, as well. Then in this series, there is in this edition, or this audio podcast edition, as part of this quantum edition, there is a look at works in regard to bridging the awareness gaps, in line to CKD, and where a research poster presentation was a sort of a secondary research poster presentation that formed as part of a healthcare awareness event in 2014. 2014, and this looks at sort of the where it looks at sort of the has some basis in around in regard to gaps in awareness, and where awareness in community and primary care have had some deficits, and also where the poster presentation looks at awareness through the use of social media, and where the poster presentation provides provides a sort of a basis in regard to the renal patient support group, or sort of example, or the RPSG example. And then there is a look at sort of a look at sort of what's on the RPSG, what's on the RPSG, and then the research poster presentation, research poster presentation looking at bridging the gaps, in regard to CKD, or chronic kidney disease. This poster presentation looks at sort of what needs to be done in sort of primary care, and also draws on some conclusions, and then as part of this quantum edition, there is a poster presentation that goes on to a look at sort of a sort of the a sort of a look at where in line to World Kidney Day, World Kidney Day World Kidney Day retrospectively from around 2014. Around 2014, the research poster presentation provides a sort of a perspective of in regard to the RPSG, and sort of looking at how aspects of the RPSG are administered, wherein there's sort of the a sort of an overview perspective in regard to sort of reflections on the initial 5 years, so wherein the reflections look at between 2009 up to 2014 from sort of the RPSG, from the RPSG sort of RPSG team. And so the poster presentation, this poster presentation was works that again formed part of a healthcare awareness sort of event that took place in 2014. And the poster presentation looks at looks at some aims, and then looks into how has social media helped, a little bit around the RPSG, or the RPSG sort of perspectives, and then goes in, and then there's a look at sort of how the RPSG sort of has represented, how the RPSG has represented, and also how there has a look at sort of RPSG sort of academic and sort of professional collaborations, and then sort of a reflection, a reflection in context of as part of the evidence in regard to the initial 5 years, between 2009 and 2014, in regard to the RPSG, and then the research poster presentation. This research poster presentation goes into the, it goes into the summary of this a summary of this poster present of this poster, and the poster presentation, apart from forming a part of works or poster linked to a healthcare awareness event that took place in around 2014. The poster presentation also formed sort of works around World Kidney Day, sort of as part of World Kidney Day 2015, 2015 as well. So sort of as part of this poster presentation, there is an overview in regard to, as part of this a synopsis, as part of this synopsis and as part of this quantum edition, in this quantum edition there will be a look at sort of a poster presentation also that formed part of a healthcare awareness event. A healthcare awareness event in 2014, and also where the works was developed into a peer review and published work and formed part of a book chapter, and wherein this works was published works looking at sort of electronic patient records or EPRs, library services, and multidisciplinary team meetings, and where this works was collaborative between collaborators in primary care, and also aligned to aligned to some of the works around in regard to the renal patient support group, the RPSG. The poster presentation looks into some of the literature forming some of the background, and then delves into and looks into sort of the issues with sort of current practice or current practices, and then look at some aspects in context of healthcare and healthcare literacy, which has formed some of the more important aspects of discrepancies in sort of healthcare services, in healthcare services in more recent sort of durations. And then this poster presentation looks at a view on patient-centric multidisciplinary team meetings, or MDT meetings, and also wherein this works, there is some sort of preliminary or sort of preliminary or sort of preliminary sort of data that picks up on some comments in regard to the theme of this research poster presentation. And then there is a look at sort of developing a libraries and healthcare partnership, and then there are some sort of main points, and then the poster presentation, and then this poster presentation draws on some conclusions.